Okay, everyone. So far we learned a few concepts for Cartesi, and this is a quick review of everything together so you can understand how the data flow works inside the application. Currently, we learned about how to create your application with the CLI and how to build it and how to run it. In this process, we tried a few things. The first one was sending inputs to the application. We did this in two ways, with the CLI and with the Cartesi Explorer. Then we learned how to check the outputs, create outputs inside the application and read them. We learned about three different kinds of outputs, which were the reports, stateless logs, which were the notices, outputs that can be validated, and vouchers, which we didn't implement yet, but we understood that they are used to interact with smart contracts in the base layer where your application will be deployed later. To check and read these outputs, we saw two ways. The first one is querying them through the GraphQL API implemented inside the Cartesi node and the Explorer. There is a local version that runs when you're running your node locally, and there is for production the Cartesi scan. Yeah, of course, these outputs, they are generated through the HTTP API that is implemented within your node as well. And your app will be able to create them through sending requests to the three endpoints: reports, notices, and vouchers. Lastly, we started to understand a little bit about state of the application, how you can create state, how you can manage variables and check its value with the inspect calls. To understand a little bit better where all of this goes in, we're gonna do a quick drawing of the data flow. So don't mind my big head here and try to focus on the board. Let's start with a representation of the blockchain. And this is a very good drawing from my part. So don't get mad at me. It's the best I can do. The blockchain, let's say Ethereum as a layer one, okay, receives inputs to some smart contracts. The smart contract is called input box. Besides the input box, there is a group of smart contracts, like your own dApp smart contract. There is the layers, there is the portal, so you can send assets. But for now, let's just focus on the most high-level version we can think of it. It's just sending inputs to the input box. We have a user here. They're gonna send inputs to the input box. Now, by sending an input to the input box, there will be a Cartesi node. Let me just try to draw the Cartesi logo here real quick. The Cartesi nodes, which are machines that are subscribed to the events of this input box, will be observing whenever this input arrives here. Essentially, what's going to happen is these inputs are going to arrive at the Cartesi dApps. Remember that these nodes, they are app specific. That means whenever an input is sent directed to a dApp through a specific dApp address, it arrives only in the Cartesi nodes that are running that specific dApp. This will trigger something that is the handle advance function. Inside the handle advance, we can do many things like get the values and alter the state of the machine. So for example, this generate outputs, and it also changes state. Now, what does this mean? These outputs right here, they can be those three types of outputs that I mentioned before: vouchers, notices, and reports. While this state, it can be any variable inside your application. All right, so how do we check this? To get these values, we can use the GraphQL API where we run queries. And in here, these values right here inside the dApp, they can be checked with the inspect function. It generates a temporary report. So basically what happens is here is the user is gonna query to receive these outputs, the GraphQL, and he's gonna be able to go to his browser and check the routes to check temporary reports. This essentially is the whole data flow of the application. Of course, we're gonna get into more complex things later, but I think this structure pretty much explains everything we did so far in the first three videos. All right, I'm excited for the next ones and hope you are as well. See you soon. Bye bye.